students, this week we are going to be looking at the different spheres of the earth, because remember there's 5 if you've watched the lecture. So in order to demonstrate this week, we are going to be creating 2 terrariums. So what I did is I took 2 2-liter bottles and I just cut off the top. You guys may need your parents' help in order to cut off the top if you choose to do this, but it can be anything that you guys are going to be able to see through. So it could be maybe a 2-liter bottle like a Sprite with a green tint. You can still see through that. You guys can also use a milk jug. You could use mason jars if you have those. If your parents have flower pots that they would allow you to use that are clear, you could use those as well. But you're just gonna have to have 2 matching ones. And we want to make sure that they're matching because of the control variable. So we wanna make sure that we are doing 2 things exactly the same. So those are going to be the only big thing that you're going to have to look for with these containers, is that they're clear and they're matching. You're also gonna need some type of gravel. Guys, what I did is my neighbor is building a house. I went over there and I stole rocks from their driveway, okay? So just try to be resourceful, try to look around and use the small rocks or gravel. You're gonna need some type of soil, some type of dirt. If you guys don't have soil around your house, go to the park, dig up some dirt. It'll be fun. You're gonna need water, which I did not bring out right now. You're going to need plastic wrap, which again, I will show you guys in a second. And you will also need a marker or something that you can mark on here. And you will also need your handy dandy ruler. And remember, if you don't have a ruler, you can go and print it out from the last lab that we did. If you do not have access to that, make sure you email your instructor. So now we're gonna start building our terrarium. So when we look at the procedure, it says that we need to place about 2 inches of gravel to one side of the container. So let's go ahead and start that. And you're gonna wanna try to make it look like a little triangle. So let's see if we can do it. Okay, so I now have about 2 inches of gravel. And again, notice that I kind of did this at an angle, and that's so we can make a lake. So now we're gonna cover it with about 2 inches of soil. As you guys can see, I am having troubles keeping everything on 1/2. So why don't I try to hold it at an angle, and let's see if I get any more success. All right, so that's about 4 inches now from the bottom. So we want to do 2 inches of water into our other side to form a lake. Okay. So now we have made a lake. We're gonna have to pot our plant, and we also need to make a mark. So I need to go grab a marker. 1 second. Take my marker, and I'm going to mark where the water started. Now I'm going to attempt to pot my plant into this soil. We want to add about 2 to 3 tablespoons of water to dampen Okay. Now, we need to figure out what we want our independent variable to be. So we need to wrap this one first and place it near a window, or we need to place this one in the dark and the other one in the light, or we need to add water. So you have three options. I'm going to choose the second one because I like what happens. You guys will see, but I like what happens. So what we're going to do is we're going to place plastic wrap over this one. But again, you have three options for your independent variable. So you get to pick whichever of the three that you want. All right, so we made our first terrarium. We're going to go ahead and make our second one. So during this experiment, we are going to be looking at how our independent variable, and remember we had three choices for that, and I chose the second one, which was to cover one of my terrariums with plastic wrap. But we're going to see how the independent variable affects the dependent variable. And the dependent variable is the reason that we put this mark here. So we're going to be testing the level of our lake. So when we go to make our hypothesis, it's always supposed to be in an if-then statement. And after the if is going to be our independent variable. That's why they're both starting with I. So if I wrap a container with plastic wrap, then the level of the lake will not decrease. So we're going to see over the course of 3 days what is going to happen. That we're recording everything that we need. So what is the purpose of this lab? What is the purpose of lesson 4? You may need to go back into the directions in order to figure it out. But we need to make sure that we have our objective. We also need to make sure that we have that hypothesis. Then we need to talk about our procedure. So here we need to talk about the materials that we chose, a summary of what we did, if we experienced any errors. So an error for me was making that lake. It was really hard to keep all of the rocks and the soil to one side. And then we also want to make sure that we have our independent variable and our dependent variable. And for me, the independent variable is the addition of the plastic wrap. And the dependent variable is always, for no matter what you choose, is going to be the level of the lake. So let's look at our day 1. And this is our starting observations. So the water level of the lake. And I'm going to make the one without a top, container 1, and the one with a top, container 2. So the water level, we know it's 2 inches because we already measured it. Is there condensation? So if we haven't done the water cycle yet, but condensation is when water will pull up here at the top. So there is no condensation present on either top. And the soil. I think the soil looks wet for both of these because I just poured water on it. And that's all we're going to do for day 1. So day 1 is probably going to be the most work for you guys. Days 2 and 3, we're going to be taking observations, and then you'll have to come up with your conclusion at the end. So I'll see you back here in 24 hours.